Hey, all my Aquarius friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today with your January 2024 monthly horoscope. These horoscopes are based on whole sign Western astrology in the Pacific time zone. If you're not in the Pacific, please adjust for your location. This is also based on Aquarius rising. If you don't know your rising sign, you'll want to go to one of the free birth calculators on the internet. You just need your exact time of birth and location to determine that information. This is also applicable to Aquarius moon, Aquarius sun, and if you have a stellium, that's 3 or more personal planets in the sign of Aquarius, this video is very much applicable to you. So let's jump in to the beginning of the year where we see Mercury at approximately 7:15 p.m. in the Pacific has turned direct. Mercury spent the last 3 weeks of 2023 in retrograde. And for the first time since 2016, it was retrograde in Sagittarius, going over the galactic center. This is rather significant because the galactic center is a point in the universe where we can access the quantum fields. We can receive divine downloads. We can get inspired solutions and information. And this is a really great time to connect with your heavenly team, to meditate, to take notes of the things that you observe, because this will be the third time that Mercury goes over the galactic center. And for me, during a retrograde, the first time that a planet goes over a point, it can be sort of jarring. And then in the retrograde, there's a introspect, review, reevaluation. And then in the forward motion, we start to apply those principles. Here we also see that Mars is on the galactic center. The galactic center is actually 27 degrees, 16 minutes of Sagittarius. And this to me is an opportunity to really get brave about what I want, brave about my intentions, brave about broadening my thoughts, my personal philosophies. Sagittarius is your 11th house of networks, of hopes and dreams. You naturally rule the 11th house. So this is really an opportunity to start to contemplate, research, do your due diligence, and really take a measure of how brave and how confident you feel birthing whatever it is you want to experience into the physical world. Mars is going to move into its exaltation in Capricorn. And when Mars does that, this is going to be your 12th house. And I think this might be a period of time where you, Aquarius, are reviewing your own personal history as well as your ancestral history and the history that affected your self-worth, your sense of ability to co-create in the world. Both the 12th house and the sign of Capricorn naturally rule history. So I think this is an opportunity to not villainize or blame or even sit in regret for not having moved your story forward quicker, but rather realize that you're in a perfect time and space to rebirth yourself. And I think that's going to be evidenced as we move deeper into the month when Pluto moves into your first house and really starts to bring up any imbalances that have tethered you to a lower version of who and what you are. We see on the 4th, let me go there. I'm going to change this to 12 p.m. On January 4th, this is where Mars has moved into its exaltation. Now, the 0 degree of Capricorn is on the world axis, which gives this particular moment in time more oomph than it would normally. We also see that 4 days later, Mercury is still at the 22nd degree. That stationing of Mercury is really planting himself in the sky to review all the information that has been assimilated. Mercury is in fall, or I should say in detriment, excuse me, when it's in Sagittarius. Detriment is when a planet is in the opposite sign of its rulership And it can be a place where you just don't really feel heard, seen, respected. And here we know that Sagittarius is all about higher education, and Mercury rules, our everyday activities as well as communications and emails. And so there's a stretch for Mercury to assimilate all the concepts, all the thoughts that have come forth over this last few weeks, the last weeks of December, and now to start to really implement them. That's Mars in Capricorn beginning to build. When Mars in its exaltation, that's where you are an honored guest in a sign. And here they've rolled out the red carpet. The fine china is out. There are parades going on, and Mars enjoys this energy. Capricorn is your again, 12th house. So this is where Mars is getting brave about looking at the history of where I've been and starting the rebuild. We see also that Venus here in Sagittarius is starting to approach the great attractor. The great attractor is at 14 degrees of Sagittarius. It has a 5 to 12 degree orb. Let me quickly check my notes. Yes, it has a 5 to 12 degree orb. So anything between 29 degrees of Scorpio and 26 degrees of Sagittarius in your natal chart will be an indication of a soul's mission to start to practice the idea of assimilating diversity, of applying the principles that were reviewed as the planets went over the galactic center, the supergalactic center, the Shapley attractor. And here Venus is starting to say, okay, I'm going to start to focus in on what I want and see how the universe supports that endeavor. I also want to mention that Mars here is in a trine to Jupiter. It's a loose trine, but as Mars moves further and further into Capricorn, this is going to become a tighter trine, offering me expansion within my business, within my philosophies, within how I view my wealth. I also think that this sextile to Saturn is supporting the endeavors that are going on, which is rebuilding or shaping a new chapter of your life. And this is really playing to what's most important to you, to what you feel makes you thriving in the world, makes you feel alive. Taurus is your fourth house of home. So we could see a bit of sort of rewriting your history, rewriting how your history affected you. And when I say rewriting, I don't mean it's like going into fairy tale land and pretending things didn't play out the way they did, but rather sharpening Mars's sword so that it becomes a tool to cut through the muck. Again, here's this favorable aspect from Mars to Saturn. Saturn is here in Pisces, which is your second house of self-worth, of how you processed your childhood and how that affected your confidence level. And so here I just think this is about anchoring in, building structure in a very brave and heroic way so that the divots in your life, the dark spots start to become wisdom. They're transformed. We're not trying to release anything. We're going to turn it into something that we can use moving forward. All right. So now we're going to move to the 11th. On the 11th, we're going to see a new moon in Capricorn. This is going to happen at 3:57 a.m. Pacific time. And this is, I believe, the fourth new moon at the 20th degree. The new moon is where the sun and the moon come together to plant the seeds in the dark of night to grow something, to harvest, to nurture something that we want. The 20th degree is the Scorpio degree. It's a higher level of the Scorpio energy, meaning that there's a more intense bravery about digging into whatever's blocking me, whatever imprint I have upon my soul, upon my ego. I'm willing to look at it. Capricorn rules my history, and I'm willing to rebuild. We have an exact square to the nodes. So here, there's going to be this feeling of When we look at the Libra energy, we're looking at a cooperation with other humans. So this could be a very tense moment where the South Node is saying, will you default to what has been, or will you stretch for what you know can be? Again, Aquarius is very forward thinking. It's innovative. It rules technology, the World Wide Web. It rules your hopes and your dreams. It's also a house that matures over time. Saturn is the co-ruler of Aquarius. So as you continue to endure through the dark moments of unknowing, you will be rewarded by the planets and by your own focus. We also see this trine to Uranus. Uranus is liberation. Uranus is your ruling planet. Uranus is unexpected things. So here in this new moon, as you're planting the seeds to build a new life, a new perception, a new platform for co-creation, you're aware of the tension of what's expected of you by others. And you're also aware of how important your own individuality is. That's the North Node in Aries. And Aries is your third house. So this is wanting to shift your everyday life, wanting to shift the way you think, wanting to shift your experience to support the truth of who you are. So I think if there's any leftover residual or doubt from where you have been, from your family experience, there's an opportunity to reason it, to make sense of it, to transform it. We see Mercury is now in its third conjunction to the galactic center. Again, that's a point in our universe where we can access downloads to the quantum fields, get inspired information. And on the same day as the new moon, we have Venus within 1 degree of the great attractor. So here she is learning that as I focus on what it is I want versus where I've been, and as I almost feel like Mercury here now, a mobile meditation would be great. Something where you're walking outside or you're moving your body in some way and allowing your senses to be present in the physical world and to garnish that presence as an opportunity to divine wisdom through the symbols and the omens that you see in this walking meditation. We see Mars now clearly in Capricorn at the Leo degree, enjoying this time it's spending as a revered and honored guest in Capricorn. Here, Mars is planning and strategizing and thinking ahead so that rather than just bolting ahead, it's taking intentional action. So I think this is important. And on the new moon, we see an amazingly beautiful exact trine to Jupiter in Taurus. And this is really an opportunity to rewrite my beliefs and rewrite where I've been. Pisces is your second house, and that's going to be the house of your skills, of your voice, of again, your self-confidence. So I think this is an important time to trust that which you cannot see with your eyes, but you can feel with your heart. We do see a square and a half between Mercury and Uranus, but I think that these other aspects actually are more powerful at this point. Mercury may be unsure that the downloads that it's receiving are actually real, but that's part of the human experience. And with practice, you'll get to trust those things. So let's move on to the 13th, where Mercury will enter Capricorn. It happens just a wee bit later in the day. And as Mercury moves into Capricorn, the thoughts become practical. They become about building in the material world. And we're continuing to see the trine between Mars and Jupiter. So that's supporting this new building. And we see that your ruling planet, I'm sorry, it's not your ruling planet, Pluto is about to move into your first house again, after tipping its toe in your first house in 2023. As Pluto moves into your first house, it could initially bring up the underbelly of any stories, any of your anxiety. If you have anxiety, if you have unsureness, this could very much bring those feelings up. And I think that this is a moment in time that rather than defaulting to the anxiety, this is an opportunity to be brave and ask yourself if what you feel anxious about is still in play, if it's still true, if it's still alive in your everyday world, or is it being transformed and there's something new and more favorable, more pleasant moving your direction or coming into your physical experience. On the 19th, we're going to see the Sun and Pluto in an exact conjunction at the 29th degree of Capricorn. This is a period of time where I think we're going to see something on the world stage. We could potentially see revolutions. There could be leaders, interesting information that comes up about leaders around the world. I think that this is going to take place for a few days, so it could be slightly volatile, but it doesn't have to necessarily affect your personal life. I also think that on a personal level, this transit between the Sun and Pluto could make you very much want to transform your image out into the world. You could be wanting to shed some old skins, some old labels, some old I don't know, it almost feels like there's a version of you that was the caterpillar, and now you're willing to birth the butterfly. I also want to point out that Jupiter and Saturn are having a nice sextile here. And this again is allowing me to sort of go in a new direction, have new renovated thoughts, new philosophies, new ideologies about where I've been and about where I want to go. Saturn is in a sign that is extremely creative. It's self-sacrificing. It can be overly empathetic, Pisces, but it is also a sign that's very, very creative and dreamy. So here, between the sextile to Mercury, Mercury to Saturn, and then Jupiter to Saturn really starts to integrate my everyday thoughts with new philosophies, new ideologies that start to make my history work for me versus pulling me under. And it also is giving me a sense of tenacity, of wanting to take my time, to pace myself, to build something that will last. And I think that's what the beauty of Pluto going into your first house will be. We will see the Sun moving into Aquarius on the 20th. And then the next day on the 21st, Pluto joins the party. So this is a very, this little conjunction here just makes me feel as if the world stage may get a little rocky. But if I just stay tucked into my own personal experience and what I'm creating, there's a bit of insulation for me there. We also see that Venus is now on the galactic center. This is giving you an opportunity to take some time again to connect with your heavenly team and take notes, really, to sit down in meditation. And even if you're in a walking meditation, have the ability to write down any inspirations that come through. I think that's going to be very powerful because in 2 days, Venus is going to move into Capricorn. And while Venus is not the sexiest in Capricorn, here her focus is on money. She wants to build, she wants to use her skills, she wants to create a sense of security for herself. And now we see Mercury and Mars are traveling together once again. They were traveling together through Scorpio and Sagittarius back in 2023. And now we are being tasked to take brave action, both in our thoughts and our deeds and in our actions. So I think that, again, we're seeing sort of layers being built upon each other. On the 23rd, oh, here we go. Yes. And we see that Venus is also coming into a trine with Jupiter. These two planets are considered friends. And here we're seeing Jupiter supporting Venus as she becomes more confident in her ability to create a sense of flow for herself. That trine will be exact on January 28th. So from now until for the next week, keeping my thoughts on where I want to go, on how it will feel when I get there, and the universe will start to pepper in and season your everyday life with little clues, little sort of breadcrumbs that will lead you where you want to go. On the 25th of January at 9:53 a.m. Pacific time, we will have a full moon in Virgo. I'm sorry, a full moon in Leo. Let me get to the 25th. Okay, so here we see the sun and the moon are in an opposition, creating the brightest phase of the moon cycle. And I think that this is really where an emotional epiphany comes in. The moon is in Leo at the Leo degree. I want to use my skills. I want to focus on myself. Leo is your 7th house of partnerships. So there could very much be an illumination when it comes to both your professional partnerships as well as your personal partnerships. I tend to think this first month, the first couple of months of 2024 are really more about making resources, money, and building a community to support my material experience. And while the sun is still in a loose trine with a loose conjunction with Pluto, here the focus seems to be on what could potentially be holding me back from what it is that makes me feel excited about my life, what I want to create, being a leader in my life. We also see that the sun now is making a square to Jupiter. And I think this could be a little bit of a conflict between how other people see you and how you want to see yourself. You know, the sun is our ego, it's our assertion out into the world. And again, Jupiter rules not just our belief system, but also rules business and commerce and branding, marketing, publishing, which to me is like an influencer on any one of the internet platforms. So this could be a bit of a tense moment as this full moon illuminates something that may feel like it could be a potential stumbling block, speed bump. And yet at the same time, I think this is an opportunity to feel more resourceful as you persevere through that energy. Now let's see, on the 27th, Uranus will go direct in Taurus. Taurus, again, is your 4th house of home. And this is going to give you an opportunity to reconcile something, to liberate yourself from something that has emotionally or mentally tethered you to an old story. This is your ruling planet, Uranus. Saturn is also your co-ruling planet. So through your willingness to persevere and endure, we're seeing a favorable aspect to your 12th house. This is where we have an exact conjunction between Mercury and Mars at the Leo degree. Venus is also at the Leo degree. So here I'm brave about wanting to pace myself, take my time, be aware of the thoughts that might tend to loop in my brain that could trip me up. And at the same time, I understand that if I feel tripped up and I persevere through that, I have gotten a new sense of my feet being squarely planted in my dreams. We see a square and a half to Venus, and I think this is just something where I'm trusting my self-worth beyond what I can see in the material world, and we see this quincunx to from Uranus to the South Node. Again, this is sort of a blind spot where, in some respects, these 2 points don't really see eye to eye. But the South Node in Libra could potentially want to give up its power. And Uranus is saying, I don't think so. Uranus is at the Leo degree, and now the nodes are at the Virgonian degree. So this is, where do I mentally enslave myself to relationships in order to be cooperative? But it doesn't really serve my story and what I want for myself as an individual. So for my Aquariuses, the month of January is very much a foundational building month, a review of where does my mind align to my dreams, where does my self-talk support where I want to go versus where I've been. And I think that as Pluto enters your 1st house, while oftentimes people are afraid of the planet of transformation, this is the planet that represents a real building of material resources, not in the millions, but in the billions. This is where you can feel a sense of power and a sense of control, not because you can wrestle the situations to the ground, but you understand that your mental focus is how you insulate yourself from any experiences that would not serve your highest and greatest good. So that's it for my Aquariuses for the month of January 2024. Again, my name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer. If you'd like to book a reading with me, you can look in the description. My information is below. Reach out, send an email, and I will send you all the rates and all the pertinent information. If you would like to hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, share my videos, I would love and appreciate that. And then please join me Sunday mornings live at 11 a.m. Pacific time, where we look at the transits of the week ahead, and then we pull a tarot card and we do an angel reading to get the angel's advice for traversing through those transits. All right, everybody, Happy New Year. I look forward to seeing you soon. Have a lovely January. Peace out.